Am I the a-hole for selling my PS5 rather than sharing it with my stepbrothers? My 15M mom and dad met and briefly dated while they were both studying at university. My mom gave birth to me after they had broken up and had to sue my dad for child support. I was raised by my mom and had virtually nothing to do with my dad throughout my childhood. My mom was an international student, and her family cut ties with her due to the circumstances of my birth. Tragically, 2 years ago, I lost my mom to cancer, and thus I was placed under the care of my dad. My dad remarried and has 2 sons, 5 and 7, with his wife. Initially, it wasn't a bad arrangement, but we were all essentially strangers. I was given a bedroom to myself, and we shared some meals, but otherwise kept to myself. About 10 months ago, I was fortunate enough to secure a casual job at an aged care facility as IT support. It was incredibly easy money, as it involves installing and maintaining a dozen or so common PCs used by the residents, plus running basic computing workshops. I ended up accumulating a lot of disposable income in a short time. Instead of keeping quiet about it, I upgraded my room with a new TV, headphones, and a PS5. Naturally, this setup attracted the attention of my 2 stepbrothers. Initially, my rule was that they could play the PS5 anytime I wasn't using it, but I would get first dibs if I wanted to play or use my TV. I was also very accommodating by buying an extra controller, which I didn't need, and several kid-friendly games that they wanted to play. Eventually, I had to change the rule to only play when I was there, because the 5-year-old destroyed one of my controllers by spilling juice on it. This is where the drama began. They complained to my parents, who then ordered me to place the PS5 in the living room. I refused, stating that I had purchased it with my own money. This led to their argument that I have too much money and should contribute rent, utilities, and food. I called their bluff and said, sure, draw up a contract and I'll get a lawyer to review it to ensure it complies with the Family Law Act. My dad then told the boys that he was going to purchase a separate PS5 for Christmas, but he is clueless about the global shortage. Finally, last night, after realizing that he had zero chance of buying one for close to RRP, my dad threatened me to either voluntarily gift my PS5 to the boys for Christmas or he would toss it in the bin while I was at school. I was so pissed that I went on Facebook Marketplace and sold the PS5. The boys found out today and were devastated. I feel really bad because they shouldn't be punished for this mess. My parents are in their room talking about me and I'm sitting here in my room. Am I the a-hole? How could I have handled this better? Update. Wow, this blew up overnight. Firstly, thanks to all the kind strangers out there for your positive encouragement and support. It's quite humbling that so many took the time to read my story and chose to provide positive support. Some people were asking for an update on the situation. I'm at work now, but my stepmom had a chat with me this morning, and it was quite positive. She said she didn't know about my existence until right before I came to live with them, and so it caused a huge rift between her and dad. She apologized for projecting that onto me and not being more welcoming. She also didn't know about my dad's threats and told me that it won't happen on her watch. My half-brothers also admitted to her about the juice incident. She said that she is going to get the boys a Switch for Christmas, and she offered to pay me the difference between RRP and getting a new PS5. I probably won't take the money, but at least it's a step forward. This was the longest conversation I have ever had with her too, by the way. No communication from my dad yet, LOL. To answer some common questions, my bank account is entirely in my name only, Australia. No one else has the ability to view or access the balance. I actually don't think my dad's demand for rent is about money since they both earn a good salary. He's just bitter that I'm not reliant on his money. Yes, I really am 15, LOL. I typed out my post in Word so that it could be spell and grammar checked. Maybe that's what confused people? I get AU $27, $50 an hour on a casual contract, with additional loading for weekends and public holidays. The operations manager at the aged care facility is super chill and allows me to schedule my hours around school. I just have a cap that I can't go over. She lets me do my homework on the clock, and I get free meals from the cafeteria. If I help the residents with non-facility devices, they usually tip me in cash or sometimes cookies. LOL. I've got a fair bit saved up because I don't really have any expenses. I've got a shoebox of documents from when my mum passed. I think my mum's assets are looked after by a trustee firm, which will be turned over to me at 18. The law firm managing the will had previously explained this to me, but I wasn't really paying attention at the time. I've still got to go through everything. I sold my PS5 for a tidy profit, even with the cost of the damaged controller. I'm not desperate for one at the moment, so I'll just sign up for a waiting list again so I won't need to take up my stepmom's offer. This is probably my last post on this issue. Thanks again for the love, everyone. Update 2:19 deck. So we've got a gathering with the extended family today. This is the first time I've met any of them due to COVID, and they've all been super lovely to me. My stepmom showed them my original post, and they are all getting stuck into dad. My uncle, dad's younger brother, has set up a Reddit account for him, and he's doubling down as he thinks Redditors will take his side when they read his account of it. I'm not going to link or read his post, but people have been telling me it's quite a bloodbath. The father then did his own Am I the a-hole post. Am I the a-hole for asking my son to share his console with his brothers instead of keeping it in his room? A few days ago, my biological son Jonah, not his real name, posted a biased and frankly defamatory post about an incident in my home regarding a ps5. My wife was kind enough to share the post and comments with our entire extended family at our Christmas gathering, so apparently, now I'm a huge asshole. My brother suggested that I post here to set the record straight and provide people with both sides of the issue. Firstly, I never actually intended to charge Jonah rent. His job gives him almost 100% disposable income purely because he lives in our household. He used this money to deck out his room, buy brand name shoes, buy the latest iPhone, etc., all for himself. I couldn't care less about how he spends his money, but it does set a bad example for my other two boys. The last straw was when Jonah set a login password for the ps5. I basically told him that if he's not willing to share, then why should I give him a free ride? My son should be grateful. While we share DNA, I only dated his mother, May, not her actual name, for 5 months back in college. I was very clear with May that I didn't want kids, but apparently consent doesn't go both ways. May put me through legal hell and ended up costing me tens of thousands of dollars over the years in child support, setting my own goals back. Instead of letting Jonah end up in a group home, I stepped up and took him in when May got sick. Instead of gratitude, I constantly have to deal with disrespect and attitude. Because of Jonah, my wife thinks I breached her trust, all for something that happened well before I met her. While the boys previously did have access to the ps5, he now won't let them play it now that school is finished for the year, unless he's home, which he never is. I gave him the ultimatum of either sharing the console or no one gets to play it. In response, he pulls the most passive-aggressive move ever and sells it, so now no one plays it. So listen, how am I the asshole here? I've welcomed this kid into my home, a kid who, by the way, will receive a substantial inheritance in a few years thanks to May's estate. I've provided him with a home, a family, and funded his lifestyle, all at the expense of my own relationship. In return, I haven't asked for a single cent, and he refuses to treat me with respect or follow my rules, but somehow I'm the giant asshole who's in the study typing this out instead of enjoying Christmas with my extended family. Instead of attacking me, I'm hoping people will now give their fair opinion of the situation based on seeing both sides of the story. The father gets as flamed as you imagine and has this reply in the comments: okay, clearly this hasn't gone the direction I thought it would. Clearly, some of you have issues with comprehension or just can't be bothered reading my comments fully. I want to be clear, I never threatened to collect rent from Jonah. I don't need his part-time work money or his inheritance money. I make a very good salary, probably more than the vast majority of people who use Reddit. I simply tried to explain to him that he has all this disposable income because he doesn't have to worry about basic needs. I didn't explain it properly at the time because we were arguing, but my intention wasn't for Jonah to give his ps5 to the kids permanently. I just wanted it kept in the common area until I could buy another one for the kids. Jonah never told me about the controller. If he had, of course, I would have replaced it. That's not an issue. I expected him to not be so selfish to his brothers. Keeping it in his room under password protection is so rude. Jonah gets home really late most days, so my kids are in bed by the time he gets back. I won't debate the nuances about sex and custody. I'm not an idiot. I understand perfect consent and parental responsibilities. I will just say that there is a significant difference between agreeing to sex versus agreeing to have a child. I understand that current laws do not support my viewpoint on this issue. I didn't intend to deceive my wife. Jonah and May were a long-forgotten part of my past. Our settlement agreement explicitly covered that. I had absolutely no communication with May or Jonah for at least 10 years before learning about her illness. My child support was at a fixed rate, and I had actually paid her a lump sum intended to support him until he was 18. It wasn't being deducted from my pay on a weekly basis. As far as I knew, I was not supposed to hear from Jonah or May ever again. So why would I bring up something like that to my wife? Yes, Jonah is a new member of our family. Yes, I understand that none of this is his fault. I don't love him yet, and to be honest, he hasn't made it easy. I will try. This process takes time. You all act like it's simple. OP makes updatey. Sorry, I know I mentioned that my previous update post would be the last one, but I feel the need to provide one more to conclude everything. Emotions are high right now, so I apologize for the rambling. Firstly, I'm extremely grateful to all the Redditors who contacted me to express their support or to check if I'm okay. I'm deeply moved. Secondly, I got to meet and spend time with my extended family today. Over 40 of them were here. They are a lively group, but they are wonderful. They really made me feel at home. Some of my cousins are gamers too, so we connected instantly. In terms of family, it's mostly been just my mom and me for my entire life, so this is entirely new to me. But my new family was completely accommodating and very interested in getting to know me. Thirdly, my stepmom turned out to be amazing. One of the first things she did was introduce me and show everyone my Reddit post. It sparked a massive debate where nearly the entire family criticized my dad, including my grandparents. At one stage, my uncle, another Redditor, pulled me aside aside and told me, "Don't worry, mate. Your dad has always been a bit of a stubborn cut. He'll get over it." Another remarkable thing was when my nan said she knew my mum quite well, and we had a great chat about her. I think we broke dad in the process. My dad got very loud, arguing with the family, and my uncle somehow trolled my dad into posting on Reddit to tell his side. He's been on his laptop in his study since then for nearly the whole night, glued to the screen. He didn't even come out for dinner. I don't know how this will end, but all I know is that I feel so much better. Whatever happens with dad, at least I have some incredible family members, swapped some gamer tags with my cousins, and have reached some common ground with my stepmom. To think, all this started with a single Reddit post. I lack the words to describe how grateful I am. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your love. I hope everyone out there can be as fortunate as me and spend the holidays with their loved ones. Sending you peace, love, and good vibes wherever you are. John updates, mostly from dad. Am I the a-hole for intercepting and eating my son's food delivery while he was grounded? Posted on January 13th, 2022. My eldest son, 16M, is undergoing a hormonally fueled rebellious phase. His behavior consists of things like rolling his eyes when I talk, back-chatting when I tell him to do something, overemphasizing putting on his headphones when I enter the room, and a whole laundry list of other passive-aggressive behaviors. It was his birthday yesterday, and he was going to go out with his friends this weekend to celebrate by paintballing. However, when I got home from work yesterday, I noticed that he had failed to do some chores I had set for him, and then did the whole headphones routine when I started telling him off for it. I became fed up with his behavior and threatened to ground him for 2 weeks, which meant not allowing him to leave the house except for work. My words clearly pierced through his headphones, and he realized he wouldn't be able to go paintballing this weekend. He removed his headphones and said, "Go fuck yourself," then shut himself in his room. Naturally, this led to his actual grounding. The grounding didn't seem to affect him much, as he spends a lot of time in his room anyway. I cut off his devices from our home Wi-Fi, but he circumvented this by using his own hotspot. He refused to come out for dinner last night when my wife asked him to, and has essentially barricaded himself in his room. At 10 p.m. last night, he ordered himself a meal via a delivery app. Once again, he was clearly being passive-aggressive, flaunting his independence, even though there was a perfectly good meal in the fridge made by my wife. I was still up watching TV, so I intercepted the delivery and ate the meal myself. At some point, my son must have come out and seen me, but retreated back to his room without a word. My wife thinks I am a major a-hole for eating the meal, but I believe it comes with the territory of the grounding. My wife also thinks I'm being too harsh due to the grounding. I will allow him to go paintballing if he apologizes. So, am I the a-hole here, Reddit? The Sun posted this comment in response. "Hi everyone, sorry for hijacking the top comment. This is my dad's post. Thanks for everyone's support. I don't think I need to add any more fuel to the fire here. The post and the comments largely speak for themselves. I just wanted to give a quick update to everyone that I'm 100% fine and okay. My stepmom vetoed my punishment, so I'm all set to go out with my friends this weekend. One of my new uncles has invited me to stay with them for a while, which is also super cool. So, I'm doing well and having a great time. These comments are hilarious. Much love. Am I the a-hole for buying my wife a new dress? Posted on February 2nd, 2022. My M34 wife, F29, and I frequently attend formal events, approximately every 2 to 3 weeks. I work as a consultant, and these gatherings are an excellent opportunity to attract new business and network. My wife generally dislikes these occurrences, but she puts on a good front for me. It's usually an enjoyable evening featuring plenty of food, beverages, and socializing while our children are taken care of by a sitter. Due to the pandemic, we haven't participated in any for nearly 2 years, but they are now resuming. At a function 2 weeks ago, my wife came downstairs dressed in a pantsuit with her hair in a simple ponytail. Don't get me wrong, she still looked stunning, but nearly all the other ladies were wearing ball gowns or cocktail dresses. When we discussed it afterward, she mentioned that she was tired of the hours spent on hair, makeup, nails, and preparation, and that if I insisted she attend, she would dress as she pleases. I tried to explain that dressing up is a necessary part of my industry, but she refused to compromise. She argued that she never drags me to any of her work events, to which I replied that we should compare payslips, which was clearly the wrong thing to say, and she left the room. Following the disagreement, I attempted to make amends by ordering a very nice and expensive gown for her to wear to the next function. I even took it to our tailor for adjustments, as they know her measurements. When I presented the dress to her, she was initially very pleased and said the dress was gorgeous, but as soon as I mentioned she should wear it to our next event, she immediately got angry with me. She believes I am being manipulative and not respecting her wishes. I thought I was simply making a thoughtful gesture. Am I the a-hole? Update. Posted as a comment by Dad in the post. I'm sure many of you will be thrilled to know that my marriage may be over. I came home this evening to find that my wife and our 2 younger boys have left, probably at her mother's house. My oldest son has been staying at my brother's house since the beginning of January. This has hit me hard. As Redditors now like to remind me on a daily basis, I now understand I have been a terrible husband and father. I have some some self-reflection to do. I am stubborn, but my wife has always been there to talk me down. I suppose she has had enough. The only communication I have is a text from my wife saying she wants a divorce and that her lawyers will get in touch regarding separation arrangements. I have tried calling, but it keeps going to voicemail. Same as my in-laws. I want to apologize. I want to offer to go to counseling or therapy like she asked. If I still can't reach her via phone, I am thinking of going to my in-laws' house. I have to try to at least talk to her. I guess my redditors hate me, but I welcome any suggestions on if there is anything I can try. Since am I? The a-hole wasn't in his camp. Dad continued to post, but in other subs, my wife wants to divorce me and won't talk to me. How can I win her back? Posted on February 7th, 2022. Hi all, I need some advice about how to win back my wife, and I am genuinely willing to do anything. My wife, F29, and I, M34, of 8 years, have been having serious relationship issues over the last few years. The main area of friction between us is that I have a son, M16, from a previous teenage fling that I never told her about. We also have another 2 young children together. My 16-year-old had to come live with us about 3 years ago because his biological mother died. His presence in our lives caused a lot of tension between my wife and me because she felt I majorly breached her trust. We argued more and more about minor things until last Thursday when I came home to an empty house. I am devastated. My wife is the love of my life and has always been the main support center in my life. I tried calling her, but she kept sending me to voicemail. She sent me a message saying that she wasn't ready to talk but was filing for a divorce and to wait to hear from her lawyers regarding separation mediation. I am a wreck. I would do anything to have her back, including counseling and therapy. She had previously asked me to attend, but I was too arrogant to take it up. I felt that if I could just talk to her, I might have a chance to explain, and we could get through this. The following day, I did something foolish. I went to her office, accounting firm, with her favorite takeaway lunch to try to speak to her. She must have notified the reception staff because they firmly refused to buzz me into the office. Her staff even went as far as calling building security. Not wanting to cause further drama, I left voluntarily. That night, I doubled down on my foolishness. I tried to visit her at her parents' house with a bunch of gifts for her and the kids. My mother-in-law answered through the intercom, but wouldn't let me in. I was so frustrated and emotional that I broke down at their door, essentially making a scene and refusing to leave. Later, my brother showed up, I assume my wife called him, and he tried to convince me to go home, but we ended up in a shouting match. He eventually tried to manhandle me back to my car, so I got into a physical altercation with him, but I left when my father-in-law came out and threatened to call 911 on me. Things have really gone downhill since then. This morning, 2 police officers turned up at my workplace with a provisional domestic violence order, along with a summons to attend court for a permanent order. I was in shock and, as a result, was inadvertently quite rude to the officers. This put them offside. I am a contractor working at a client site, and when my client asked the officers what the issue was about, they said they couldn't say for privacy reasons, but then immediately handed out business cards with their Family Violence Liaison Unit title displayed at the top. So now my firm's senior partner has advised me to avoid returning to the client site, and I may be terminated. I feel like this is the wake-up call I needed. I know I have been a narcissistic a-hole and am ready to change. What can I do to communicate with her? To show her I am committed to being better? I don't want to just end it like this. I know that if I have a chance to explain myself, to apologize, to promise to work diligently on my marriage, to address my narcissism, to attend therapy, to go to counseling, whatever my wife needs to forgive me, we can continue with our lives. Our court hearing is in a few weeks, so I am considering arriving early with some expensive jewelry to try to talk to my wife before the hearing. My attorney has told me this is a bad idea, but I feel like I need to do something. I don't want to negotiate with my wife across a courtroom. I just want to remind her how much I love her and how important she is to me. What can I do to win my wife back? Has anyone else been in this situation? Update. I get it. It's over. You guys are right. I've messed up. Irrevocably this time. I've lost my family and likely will lose my job. I've always tried to control everything in my life. It's worked for me in the past because my family is wealthy and they've fixed things for me. But my wife and brother must have spoken to my parents because they said I can't use the law firm my family has on retainer for my DVO or upcoming separation proceedings anymore. I'll hire my own attorney as soon as things start opening up. I'll seek mental help too. Most importantly, I'll leave my wife alone. Thanks for your comments and advice. The son then comes back with an update from his stepmom in a comment on his dad's last post. Hi everyone. A lot has happened over the past few months. My stepmom has been reading all these posts and comments. She noticed that he's now claiming he will change and is trying to gain sympathy from it. She emailed me this today to share with everyone to decide if he deserves any. I haven't edited it in any way, just copied and pasted it. Hi everyone. I am not a Reddit user, but I have been following the posts that my stepson and my soon-to-be ex-husband have written. I would also like to thank the hundreds of kind people who immediately saw through his bullshit and gave him some hard truths. I am also thankful for all the well-wishes well-wishers to me, my sons, and Jonah. Apart from the few incidents last week, which isn't the complete picture by the way, he has stopped trying to contact me directly. However, I am hearing from mutual friends that he is on a mission to garner sympathy, trying to shift blame for his life falling apart to everywhere except himself. I note that he is throwing a pity party for himself on Reddit too, hoping to get people to congratulate him on how much he has changed. Ha! I want to set the record straight that this man deserves no sympathy. I have been with him for 8 years. Yes, I realize that I am a naive idiot, and I take my part of the blame for not only sticking around, but for having 2, now 3, incredible light of my life, adorable children with this man. I will lay out the details of my marriage and let people judge for themselves. I met him when I was 21, a broke university student trying to make it on my own. I met him while working at my part-time job. I was attracted to his looks, his wealth, and his confidence. We got married within 3 months. I was foolish and vain, deceiving myself into thinking he was the prince to whisk me off to a better life. After our wedding, the manipulation started. He wanted to convince me not to continue my studies. You don't need to, babe. I'll take care of you. Just look pretty and manage my home. After the birth of our first child, I took 12 weeks of maternity leave. At that time, I was well established in my career. He once again tried to persuade me to become a stay-at-home mom. He attempted to manipulate me, saying, "It's not fair on your son," and that his happiest memories from childhood involved his mother being home. Throughout the marriage, he would frequently use his financial status as a form of control. My dad, bless him, is a skilled tradesman, but a poor businessman. Early on, my ex arranged a loan through his family trust to save my dad's business. My ex would subtly remind me of that every time we had a disagreement. He would continually monitor my credit card usage. He would question me about transactions he didn't approve of. For instance, spending on fashion, the gym, hair, Botox, and makeup was fine, but a latte and a muffin? Who the hell did you have a coffee with? He would constantly critique my appearance. For example, he would show me pictures of celebrities and suggest that I should dress and do my makeup like them. He would also make casual remarks about my eating habits. Are you sure you want to order that in a main size? Didn't you already have a sugary drink at lunch? Or my personal irritation, I think my wife will have the salad tonight. Hello. Industry awards or charity events we attended, he would dictate who I should converse with. I can't count how many trivial, empty conversations I've had with other spouses about the newest handbag or some other pointless winter collection. I once made a joke about him in front of some of his colleagues, and he reprimanded me like a child during the ride home. You all know about him hiding Jonah's existence from me. What you might not know is that he lied about Jonah's mother, portraying her as a gold digger who tricked him into having a child. This is why my initial reaction to Jonah was definitely not warm, and I am ashamed for it. He's a genuinely decent and sweet boy, and he is so kind and patient with my 2 boys. He deserves better than his father. I could go on endlessly. This list doesn't even begin to describe the level of narcissism, manipulation, and control he had over me for the last 8 years. I know I am equally to blame for this, but I'm done with it now. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't confident enough. I didn't want to say no to a man who gave me everything. Even now, in weak moments, I catch myself starting to miss him and wonder if I should just endure it. That maybe he'll change just enough that I might be able to live with it. But then his recent fake pity party bullshit snapped me right out of it. I don't want his money. I don't want him. I just want my kids and me to live our lives free of him. Thank you for reading. He also adds his own living situation. I'm staying with my uncle and cousins at the moment. My dad has called me a few times, but only as a way to talk to my stepmom. Update. Hiring an investigator while under intervention order. ACT. I'm just considering some options here. From a legal standpoint, is it illegal for person A to hire a private investigator to survey person B while person B has an intervention order against person A? Self-pity post. I had it all. I had everything. A beautiful wife, gorgeous kids, an awesome house in the suburbs, a well-paying job, and a bright future. It all came crumbling down last week. My wife left with the kids while I was at work. It took me by surprise. Sure, we argued about little things like any other couple, but I had no idea she would hit the exit button so suddenly. I am a good provider. I have nice shiny things, and we were, I thought, a great couple. Sometimes these things just aren't enough. Now I'm sitting alone in a house filled with nothing but memories and silence. The most painful part is that I feel like I can get my life back on track with a gentle push. Unfortunately, my wife won't give me a chance to speak one-on-one. The next time I see her will likely be on the opposite side of a conference room with lawyers. Maybe I've changed. Maybe we've both changed. All I know is that I still love her and it hurts every day. I just want my life back. The latest post. I, 35M, have recently separated, divorce not finalized, from my wife, 31F. We have 2 primary school-aged boys together, and I have custody one weekend every 2 weeks, Friday to Monday morning. I work fairly long hours, and every week my team goes out for dinner and drinks on Friday night. These sessions are vital team bonding events, and I feel they are a crucial part of my job. My girlfriend, Jane, 25F, is a primary school teacher at a different school from my boys. boys. I recently filled out a form with my boys' school to designate Jane as a guardian for picking up and dropping off my boys at school. I commute the opposite way to my work on Mondays, whereas Jane works at a school near our boys' school. With the current custody arrangements, it's only one pickup and one drop-off every 2 weeks if Jane were to do it. Unbeknownst to me, the school sent the form to my ex-wife for her signature. My ex is now extremely angry at me. From my perspective, Jane is a perfectly suitable person to look after our boys, as she is my girlfriend, a qualified teacher, and the boys get along well with her. She only has to pick them up and drop them off, and maybe supervise them for less than 2 hours without my presence. My ex says I'm an asshole and accuses me of trying to evade my responsibilities. I don't think that is fair. My ex is going through her lawyers to specifically write to me prohibiting this. I think she is overreacting because she is jealous. Am I the asshole here? Update. My STB ex-wife is not happy with my holiday plans. My M31 spouse, F27, and I have been separated for approximately 6 months but are not divorced yet. We were together for 10 years. We have 2 primary school-aged boys. She currently has more custody than I do because of my work schedule, but my goal is to work towards joint custody. We agreed to divide the school holidays between us, with me taking the first week and her the second week. I had an amazing time with the boys during my week, playing games and watching movies with them at my new apartment. Just before my wife's week began, I asked if we could all do a few activities together, such as watching a movie or having a meal together. It would be nice for the boys to see their parents getting along after all. To my astonishment, my wife said she had already booked a vacation for the boys, and I would not have access to them for the entire week. Thankfully, my eldest son told me that my wife had organized a cruise for them. To make things worse, it was the cruise that my wife and I had talked about taking when we were together. I was admittedly very hurt that my wife would take my dream family holiday without me. Apart from my personal feelings, I was mainly concerned about the safety of her taking 2 boys by herself. A lot can happen on a cruise ship. I didn't know if she would be alone or with a boyfriend or a group, so my primary concern was to ensure the safety of my boys. I took time off work and also booked a cabin on that same ship. Luckily, there were plenty of vacancies. I didn't want to intrude on my wife's time with the boys, but I thought it was a considerate gesture that at least I could look after the boys while she gets a massage or wants some time alone. I even got a VIP cabin suite so the boys could have room to sleep over. When I surprised her on the ship, she went apeshit ballistic at me. In fact, she screamed so loud that security had to intervene, and we were all interviewed separately by the head of security. The head of security seemed to immediately take my wife's side, white knight, and told me to stay away from my family. But I mean, it's a ship? I've just been hanging out in my room for the past few days, but I'm unsure if the directive from security is enforceable. Obviously, my wife has once more misunderstood my kind gesture. I didn't go on the cruise to interfere with her vacation, only to make things easier for her to have fun while spending time with the kids. Any advice for me?